Hello viewers, good evening and welcome to exclusive episode of Nagorik Face View. Nagorik Face View is a platform which allows you to express your opinion and thoughts, which is a practice of your freedom of expression, your political rights along with your social view. I am Shafina and I'll be hosting this special Face View program which is about upcoming federal by-election. And today's guest is Dr. Kimberley Manning, a human rights and gender activist who is seeking nomination for the Libarel Party of Canada for the federal by-election of Outremont riding that Tom Mulcair recently vacated. So here we go, we're going to talk with her.
Thank you.
Hello and nice to meet you.
Thank you so much for having me here. It's a real pleasure.
And thank you so much for giving us your time. I really appreciate it, and also Nagorik TV appreciates your time. And first of all, I would like to appreciate that the dress you're wearing. It's awesome. You look gorgeous. You look gorgeous. So
Thank you.
So first of all, when I saw you in this dress, I was really impressed. Oh my gosh, she is gonna be our leader.
Well, that's
Great.
what we're working on. That's
Exactly.
what we're trying to work towards.
So she's Dr. Kimberley. First of all, I would like to know about yourself, your background. If you can tell this to our audience and us, I would like to know it.
Well, first of all, thank you again for having me here. It's a real pleasure to be with you this evening. I really appreciate the opportunity to get to speak with members of the Bangladeshi community here in Montreal, which have really actually been quite a vital aspect of my campaign since January, since I started. So I am a professor at Concordia University. I've been teaching Chinese politics in Montreal at the university since 2004. I'm originally from British Columbia. I grew up in Victoria and in California, actually. But my specialty is Chinese politics. So I spent a lot of my years in my 20s and my 30s traveling and doing research in China. My second language is Mandarin, and my third language, like many people from the Bangladeshi community, is French, right? So I've also had the experience of really having to learn French since my arrival here with my husband in 2004. So I've been teaching Chinese politics for the last 14 years or so, but most recently I've been principal of the Simone de Beauvoir Institute at Concordia University, and that's a very special program, small college at the university, and we teach women's studies and have been quite prominent in the community doing human rights advocacy, various forms of community work, and have quite a presence in Montreal and in Canada as well. So it's been a real pleasure and really exciting to be holding that role. And now, of course, I am seeking the nomination for the Libarel Party of Canada in the riding of Outremont, which is my own home riding. It's where I live. And have been doing this work since January earlier this year, and we're looking at the nomination being held in just a few weeks. So it's coming up very quickly now. Great,
yes. So what actually motivated you to get into this politics, or you're seeking for the position?
Yeah.
What motivated you for that?
Well, you know, for big life questions like this, it's always, you know, there are multiple...
So you have a lot of experience in different sectors. You teach people.
So, I mean, I teach political science, and I'm particularly interested in women in politics, and that's something I've studied a lot with respect to China. But in recent years, I myself became increasingly involved in advocacy work, in passing laws in Quebec City and in Ottawa, starting a nonprofit organization with some colleagues. And so I've become increasingly involved in community work over the last few years. And in particular, passing a law in Ottawa in 2017 really galvanized me, because I got to see close up, front and center, the kind of work that Justin Trudeau's government is doing and what some of the members of parliament are doing, and really see what an impact that they can have. And that drew me in to wanting to be able to participate and contribute at that level as well.
Great. And I've seen you in different occasions and different events. It's from Bangladeshi events that I have seen you. And you go there, you go there, you try to mix up with us, like our dresses, you try to look like us. And why is that?
Well, you know, I didn't actually know
what do you like about it. I'll say.
I didn't. I mean, to be totally honest with you, I mean, I'd read a little bit about Bangladeshi history and society, particularly in the context of teaching gender and politics. But I did not know a lot about Bangladesh prior to starting this work. But I think a key piece for me is one of the main people on my campaign team was born in Bangladesh, and that's Taha Rima Habib,
right,
who
yes.
you had on your program just a few weeks ago. And
that's right.
she was actually, there were 2 people in January who said, I want to sign up and help you become the Member of Parliament for Outremont. And Taha was one of those 2 people. So she was at my kitchen table on January 2nd, beginning to brainstorm and think about how can we get you the nomination. So right from the start, you know, Taha Rima, who grew up in Cote, Neige, who was born in Bangladesh, and whose home is right in the heart of the riding. I mean, it's from her home where I've prepared to get ready to come to events, and her mother's helped me get dressed. And so I feel like for me that the community actually is at the heart of the work. And not only that, but has given me so much. There are so many people now from the community who are dedicating themselves to this work and working alongside me. I'm overwhelmed with the generosity of this community.
Great. So also you are enjoying this, right? Because you want to help people, and this is something that you will be, when you are a leader, you will talk for the people, right? Our rights, and that we want to say, we want to get. You will be there. You will be representing us. Or in your area, a lot of people are in. So, and how do you find it? Is it going to be easy, or you find something challenging?
So
because different community people are there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cote de Neige, right, which is half of the riding of Outremont. So the riding is called Outremont, but the neighborhood of Outremont, of the riding,
yes.
is actually only a small part of it. It's only 25% of the riding. Cote de Neige is 50% of the riding, right? And of that community, there are something 60. In the range of over 150 nationalities living in a few square miles, right? It's incredibly dense, it's incredibly rich, it's an extraordinary community. And one of the most incredible aspects of this community is how much collaboration is happening among different communities, right? It's not just that people are living in isolation from one another. No, they're each other's accountants and lawyers and school teachers and doing work on campaigns together. And there's an incredible vibrancy and collective spirit to the community that I think is very, very unique internationally and unique to Canada. So I think it's an extraordinary neighborhood. But it's also a neighborhood with a lot of need, right? So one of the things that I feel like needs to be front and center for whoever becomes the next member of Parliament, and certainly for me, is to do work around social housing, right? So there's a lot of need to make sure that people can get access to affordable, decent housing. And so that's one of my first priorities. But I also, and I really want to stress this, I want to have my office in Cote de Neige, right? I want to be near people, and I want to be near the people for whom the needs are greatest, right? And that often is the immigrant communities who are, many of whom are recently settling in Canada and in Montreal in particular. And, you know, believe me, I've been in a number of apartments meeting people, and, you know, there are lots of people who are doing really well, and there's some people who are really struggling and really need support. And
do you think they will get help from you? You will be helping them?
Well, that's what I'm here to try and do.
Exactly.
Right?
That's what now my question, another question to you, that you are involved with the community now, and how you're going to encourage our community's young generation to get involved into politics or to help you?
Absolutely. So, well, first of all, again, just to come back to Taha, I mean, she's been my...
It's a great example.
Right. I mean, and I took her with me to Halifax, to the Liberal Convention in April, right?
She was saying
so
this,
that was my way of beginning to train her. I'm introducing her to other political leaders. I want her to be part of that next round of leaders emerging in, you know, in the city to either, you know, at municipal level, at the provincial level, at the federal level. But that goes for my presence and participation in the community. You know, I mean, one of the first things we'll do is we'll have a youth council, right? We're going to want to get young people involved.
Exactly.
And when I meet, as I have, young people who are either from Bangladesh originally or second generation, you know, one of the conversations that I have with them is about political involvement and how they can get active. And one of the ways is actually by getting involved in the campaign. It's an incredible way to build skills, to meet people, and to really see, even if you don't think you would ever want to run yourself, how you can have an impact and grow your world.
That's right. Through
being a part of something like this. It's absolutely the most extraordinary experience I've ever had.
That's great. And so for up to now, you have done a lot of things, like a lot of activities that you are doing. You're getting involved with our community and also with different communities. And in for you, Taha, like an example, she's working as young like generation, and is she doing something that is encouraging other people to get involved into this, like she is doing for you? Now, how she's gonna encourage other like people from our community, younger people? How she's gonna do that? Do you have any strategy, any plan for that? Because today I'm seeing you like our leader, right? So I want you, or our expectation also from you, that you should encourage our young generation to get involved into this.
100%.
And what are the steps? The first thing, what we should do, or our next generation should do to know more about how to get involved into this?
Well, so, you know, I think that there's several different approaches. I mean, one of the things that we can do immediately is establish a youth council, you know, so a youth council. So some members of parliament do this, right?
Yeah.
Whereby it's a way for young people to get involved, to study particular issues, and actually contribute to the dialogue about, you know, what steps should be taken, what are the pathways forward. Do they need to
have some background, like educational background?
No, absolutely not. No. So it's a way of drawing people in and getting them interested in thinking about and what kinds of decisions do we need to make here, right? And so it's a way of involving the community, but particularly young people. But I think another piece that is also really important is the education piece. And you know, I don't think you need to have higher education to have an impact, but I do think that when you have higher education, that many more doors will be open. Yeah. So one of my priorities, I mean, I'm a university professor, and my work at Concordia over the last few years has been very much focused on how do we increase access to the institution, particularly from more marginalized communities. So that will definitely be part of my work as well, and that is how do we make sure young people who may not have been born here or who maybe are second generation, that they see that going to university after CEGEP is an option for them too, and that they get to pursue the kinds of studies that will really enliven them and bring them to new places in terms of their future.
That's true. It opens a lot of doors,
yeah,
like if
absolutely.
You have the education. Yeah, I agree with you. Okay, so I guess we have to take a short break right now. So viewers, we'll be taking a short break right now. Please stay tuned and we'll be right back.
Nagorik TV.
আমার আপনাদের
আমাদের
আমরা স্বদেশের কথা বলি, আমরা প্রবাসের কথা বলি।
আমাদের সঙ্গেই থাকুন।
নাগরিক টিভি সবার।
নাগরিক টিভির সঙ্গেই থাকুন।
Hello viewers, welcome back. So we were talking with Dr. Kim here, and I'll get back to her again to know some more things. And here, welcome back. And
thank you.
So the next thing I would like to know from you, that probably you know that Bangladeshi community is getting involved into the mainstream politics, Canadian mainstream politics, more and more.
Yeah.
So age is a factor. Can anyone get involved into this, or only young generation should come?
Oh, absolutely not. One of my...
It's a silly question, but still I would like to know, because mostly it's generation, not the younger one, but seniors. They are interested in it.
Yeah.
They're getting involved into it. So what do you think?
Yeah, well,
It
of
should be
course.
that,
I mean,
or-
absolutely. I mean, politics the door needs to be open
For everybody.
For everybody, 100%.
They can start at any age.
Absolutely.
But they have to have
Absolutely.
some background.
Well,
or-
no. I mean, and I think this is what's really important. So, you know, yes, I'm a professor, and yes, I've taught political science for a fairly long time, but I've never been involved in a campaign before, right? This is my first time. And pretty much everybody on my team, with a couple of exceptions, are new to campaign work, right? So we've had to learn everything from scratch. But there is something quite incredible about being open to a new experience like this, and to have a steep learning curve, right? And I think that that's what we need in politics. We need people who, yes, have lots of experience and have done this kind of work before, but we also constantly need new people coming in and committing and getting involved. You know, and there's life cycles, right? There's going to be certain times of our lives where we're going to be able to be really active, and then other times, you know, maybe when we have small children, or maybe when we're taking care of elderly parents, or, you know, illness, or whatever it is that's going on. So, you know, but I think that when we have time and when we have capacity, even if it's in small ways, whether it's signing up for a membership form, whether it's making some phone calls, whether it's talking to some neighbors, or whether it's actually saying, you know what?
Anybody can have a different role.
Absolutely. There's so much room for people to be involved, and it's so needed. It's so needed. And I just, the kind of inspiring work that I see by people in our community in Cote de Neige, the kind of selfless volunteer work that I see on a daily basis now is staggering. You know, whether it's helping new asylum seekers settle, whether it's assisting families who are really living on the margins and struggling. These are people who they're truly embody what it means to be a good neighbor, and at the same time they're also getting involved in politics and really trying to make a difference there too. And
So
these are people who you know, who don't have a PhD in political science.
That's
you don't need a PhD in political
To
science.
be a great leader, you don't need that.
Absolutely no.
You have to have the willpower.
You need to have heart.
Yes,
You
that's
need
right.
to have heart as well as commitment, right? And you need to be open to people. You need to be able to listen.
Also dedicated.
And dedicated, yeah.
That's great. And so another thing here I wanted to bring it to your attention, because one of the things that I heard, it's a language issue. Like one of our political leaders in their agenda that I've heard, if immigrants, after coming here within 3 years, they cannot learn French, or they cannot pass the test, something like that.
I know.
They are gonna revoke their like residency or something like this.
Yeah.
What do you say about this?
Oh. So clearly, this is something I firmly oppose, and it actually quite frightens me. But this is something that's happening on a provincial level, and as you know, there's going to be an election on Monday, so I think it's really important that people make sure that they're voting for a party that does not support these kinds of measures. I mean, they're not going to stand up. They violate the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. So this kind of thing is not going to stand up, and there's no way of enforcing it. But what it does is frighten people, right? And,
That's right.
And it creates a climate in which migrants, in particular immigrants, people, new arrivals, or even people who've lived here for a long time, but who may feel like, oh, my French, you know. I mean, I still struggle sometimes with my French. I work on it very hard, but it's not easy, right?
It's not. Like,
it's
for
not
us
easy.
Especially.
It's not easy, and I know whether it's you know, for you coming from Bangladesh or for me coming from Victoria, British Columbia, it's a challenge. And you know, and I'm deeply dedicated to French, deeply dedicated. My kids go to French school. I live in a French neighborhood. You know, I'm completely committed to the project of maintaining French language in Quebec. But making these kinds of requirements, all it does is frighten people, and I think creates a kind of divisiveness in our province. So completely against it.
Thank you for clearing it up. And yeah, and I agree with you. Okay, and then the thing is, you are dealing with different kind of people. Like you will be working with different kind of people, and they have different mentalities, right? So, what do you think will be like challenges for you, or at this moment, do you find anything that is challenging? When you work with different
with different communities
people,
or people who are from maybe have different traditions or different understandings or approaches to the world. No, I mean not that part doesn't. That I welcome that. I welcome that we can actually be in conversation with one another, even though we may not always have the same opinion or viewpoint on different issues. That to me, a healthy democracy requires that we actually be able to sit down together and work together. And so even though I'm a very progressive individual and I have clear ideas about, for me, what's important, including things like getting social housing in for Cote de Neige and making sure that people are receiving the support they need, that doesn't...
Daycare is an issue.
Absolutely. Daycare for me,
yeah,
daycare for me is also a high priority. And I hear actually, I was just speaking with some women last night in an apartment, and they were really struggling finding daycare, right? And we're supposed to have daycare available to us here in Quebec, and yet it's often very, very hard for immigrants to find daycare. So it's this sort of people like me, with who speaks English and French and has a high education. It's much easier for me to kind of navigate the system to figure out where I need to go. It can be much more challenging if you arrive and you don't have networks in place and don't have access to the same kinds of resources. That's not right. I mean, the daycare system we have is supposed to be about equal access. So equal access. So I think that's a really key piece. But no, the purpose of politics is for us to be in relationship with each other and speaking to one another.
It was so nice talking to you, really. I'm seeing some hope, and I wish you all the best. Now we have to finish this program. It has to come to an end. So, Dr. Kim, I would like to tell you something about our community, people, please. Please tell what do you expect?
You'd like me to... Okay.
You were going to say something about...
Okay, sorry.
Your expectation.
I thought you were going to tell me about your community.
You're going to tell.
So,
go ahead, please.
I guess what I'd just like to say is that I am running in the riding of Outremont, in Cote de Neige in particular. And for me, Cote de Neige is the priority. It's the place that I feel like, as I said before, is an extraordinary community, and we need people involved. So if you are interested in getting involved, please, first of all, sign up to become a member of the Liberal Party of Canada, and we've included the link for the Liberal Party of Canada below. And then please send us a message and let us know that you're interested in getting involved, because we'd love to have your participation. As I said, we're a rapidly growing group mobilizing on the ground, and we'd love to have your participation in this, what I think is a really important project, to really put Cote de Neige on the map and say, Outremont, the riding has this incredible history. It's historical. It's been important in all kinds of ways. And now we need to make sure that Cote de Neige is part of that story and really part of the richness that we celebrate and look after in this extraordinary riding.
Thank you so much. Thanks for joining Nagorik TV's Nagorik Face View, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a real pleasure.
Great, thank you. So, viewers, this program has to come to an end. So we had a great time with Dr. Kim, and now I'm gonna finish this program. So I hope you all liked it. So what I'd like to tell you that it's your right to vote. So you will decide who you're gonna vote, but it's still, she can be a very good leader for us, for our community. So you decide what you do. And thank you so much for staying with us, and you have a wonderful evening, everybody.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
নাগরিক টিভি
আমার আপনাদের
আমাদের
আমরা স্বদেশের কথা বলি, আমরা প্রবাসের কথা বলি।
আমাদের সঙ্গেই থাকুন।
নাগরিক টিভি সবার।
নাগরিক টিভির সঙ্গেই থাকুন।